Gerstner Adam Law podcast. My name is Paul Adam. This is Colin Gerstner. Today we're going to be talking about AI. This has come on all of a sudden to many industries, and the legal industry has certainly been impacted by it significantly. And so, we just want to talk about what AI can do for, prospective clients, folks that are injured out there, but where an attorney steps in and can do things that really AI lacks and can't get done. So, Colin, I want to start us off. I'm going to ask you some questions. What have you seen, maybe just in the last, say, 4 to 6 months, in terms of how AI is really affecting the legal industry, but especially personal injury attorneys?
Sure. I mean, AI, is everywhere now. I mean, I think every industry is using it. We are in our internal processes. We use it in a variety of forms with our case management software. We'd be remiss not to try to keep up with the times. I see it though, and what I want to talk about today is our clients. How are they using it? How can they use it? Should they use it? I think it's really interesting. I think we've all kind of poked around ChatGPT or Grok or Copilot, whatever it is. And it's fun, right? To ask it questions, generate images, ask information.
Yeah. And I mean, as we prepped for this too, our discussion was AI is incredibly useful. I mean, we are certainly not going to be here like, attorneys can do everything. AI is just going to give you misinformation or lead you astray, and you need an attorney. We're the end all be all. That's not the case. In fact, we found AI, can replace a lot of things that we can do, but not everything.
Correct. There's still a need for lawyers, and I'd still recommend, if you're injured, that you need a lawyer on your side. And AI, so just as an example, this morning we're talking about topics for the pod today.
Yep.
I made up a scenario, went to ChatGPT, and the scenario was, I was hurt in a crash. I had X injuries. These are my medical bills. Tell me a settlement value.
Yep.
And ChatGPT did. And between us girls, it wasn't totally unreasonable.
It was pretty thorough.
It was thorough. And then I typed in, should I get a lawyer on this, or can I just rely on you, talking to ChatGPT? And it told me you should get a lawyer.
Yeah. And I think if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but the response was, some of these, more simple cases, a lot of times prospective clients or injured folks, maybe not, they don't have any reference point in is this a simple case? Is there complexities that, I need help with? I mean, a lot of times you don't know. And I think that's really where the attorney comes in, is like, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you're not prompting AI with the right questions, you're not going to get the results.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to seminars on how to use AI in our industry, as lawyers. And one thing that's always hammered home is that it depends on the prompts, right? AI doesn't know the universe unless you tell it what's going on. And if you're not asking the right questions, it's not going to be so helpful.
Yeah. And so, some real examples that I've had, I would say in the past few months where, a prospective client will call in and say, hey, I have a settlement offer on the table. I've been through all the treatment, and they're very well informed. They know their case. They're a great historian of their medical history. But they're like, but the adjuster, they won't budge. They're lowballing my offer. And I know I have a better case, and they're right, but they don't have the leverage.
Right? That's exactly it. And that's one thing that lawyers can do that AI can't, and that's file a lawsuit. We've talked about this before on the pod, but one thing that lawyers have that, non-lawyers have is the power of litigation. And that in a process, if you reach, loggerheads with an insurance adjuster, if you can't get a fair offer, what you got to do is file a lawsuit. Insurance companies know that if you're underrepresented, they'll play hardball, they'll lowball you, and pretty much call your bluff. And you're going to do one of two things without a lawyer: is you're going to settle for below what your case is worth, or you'll try to file a lawsuit by yourself, representing yourself, and that's ill-advised. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing a lawyer can do is, try to settle it. If you can't, then you litigate it.
Yeah. And I would say what's unique too about just practicing law in Montana, and especially in the workers' compensation field, is so much of it is still about relationships. Workers' comp in Montana is a pretty small group of people, between the defense side, the plaintiff side, the adjusters. Maybe there's 250 of us in the whole state that are in this area of law. And I know them all, and I've worked with them all. And I know how they negotiate, or I know what their sticking points are, or I know their trial strategies. I know how hard of a worker they are. I know if they need me to, serve something up on a silver platter, and they'll just accept whatever I'm asking, or if they're, obstinate and going to fight about everything. And that's what AI cannot give you a heads up on. And so that's what makes it fun. That's what I like the most about practicing in Montana, is that personal side of it. But for me, that's the biggest difference in what a lawyer can provide.
And there's another thing too, and something I didn't really appreciate until, as a year or two into my practice, is that one thing we offer is kind of taking the insurance nonsense off your shoulders. If you're catastrophically injured, you got a lot going on. You're not working, you have medical bills, trying to keep all this straight. Your relationships are frayed. It's a lot. And when you hire an injury attorney to represent you, they take all the bureaucracy off your shoulders, right? Also, it's a lawyer's job to talk to insurance companies. They're not allowed to talk to you. I just can't see this relief when I have a client come in who's been hurt, and they've been trying to keep track of it. They have a folder that's just bursting with all sorts of papers. And I can tell them, you can give that to me and just focus on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Follow your doctor's advice, do the treatment they recommend, and that's it. I'll handle all the paperwork, all the communications, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Colin, and I don't think you wouldn't say this. You'd be too humble to say it, but you are an absolute wizard of finding coverage when nobody else can find it, finding sources of payment where no one else thinks there's anything available. Just the more complex it is, it seems like the more you dig in and find ways to get things paid that, frankly, we've got a lot of cases that other firms have turned down because nobody thinks that there's any coverage available. They can't make any money off of it. Or if they get involved, the injured person isn't going to get anything. We've taken those cases. It just takes some hard work, and it takes some reading the fine print and being able to interpret that. Colin, that is your knack. You've got many of them, but that's one of them. And so that's another thing I want to talk about, though, is the insurance angle. Because really, you can have great facts. You can have clear liability. You can have, the perfect client. But so much of a case and the recovery comes down to the insurance that's available, right?
Yeah. And so, like you said, one thing we're always doing is trying to seek avenues of recovery. And there's obvious ones and not so obvious ones. And so what we're going to talk about here is kind of a run-of-the-mill car crash case and what kind of insurance coverages we're looking at. So we pulled up what we call a deck page. Paul, do you want to tell the good people at home what a deck page is?
Yeah. So what Colin and I have here, we have two different declarations pages. Okay. And so this is going to be in any of your auto policy documents. This is the page that shows the premiums that you pay and the coverages that you get. These things are easy to just pass over. Your eyes glaze over looking at this kind of stuff, but it is probably the most important document in your auto policy, I would say.
I'd agree.
And so we have here deck sheets from two well-known insurers. We have one from USAA, and we have another deck sheet from Progressive Insurance. So many folks that are listening, you might be insured by one of these. And you and I, we nerd out over this stuff. We find this stuff, we like to read these. We like to find the differences. We like to find, coverages in here people don't necessarily see. So tell me first about this USAA policy deck sheet that you have in front of you.
It's a real deck page from a client. Obviously, information is redacted. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at coverages and the amounts. And so if you look at the top, we'll say description of vehicles, and this client has 4 cars under this policy.
Yeah, and that's going to be pretty important.
Yep.
Pay attention to how many vehicles you have insured under a single policy. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay. So then we look down, and if you look under coverage, this part A, it says liability. And so this is what we call a third-party coverage. And so this is what somebody else can recover against. So in other words, this is where if you are negligent and cause somebody else harm, this is your insurance coverage. So in this case, see bodily injury, and you see each person says $300,000. And so this person's liability limit is $300,000 per person, or each accident $500,000.
Okay.
Paul, what does that mean?
Yeah. So let's just say, you're driving down the street. I run a red light. This happens a lot. I T-bone you. Smoke you right in the driver's side. I have this USAA policy that we're looking at. A claim gets filed, and the coverage that I have that protects me. Okay. And so you have insurance to protect you, right? To protect the person who purchases the insurance, right? And so right there, that shows me that I have $300,000 that first $300,000 in damages that you suffered because of me is going to be covered by USAA.
So that's each person. And so, so as an individual, so use your example, Paul just driving like bad out of hell, runs a red light, crashes into me and my family. The most that each person can recover is $300,000. Now down below is sometimes you see each accident, some policies say each occurrence or aggregate. But what that $500,000 means, that's the most it will pay for a single crash.
Yeah.
And so using that example, Paul crashes me and my wife, basically we're both catastrophically injured. The most they will pay is $500,000. And right. So even though each person can individually recover $300,000, the most total, regardless of claimants, regardless of injuries, they'll pay is $500,000.
And and I want to move through this quickly because sometimes this can get dry if we linger on it too long. But this amount of coverage, this is a lot more than we see typically in Montana. Would you agree?
Yes. So under Montana law, the minimum limit is $25,000, which is insane, but that's what the law is. And unfortunately, we see that a lot. If you'd be hard pressed to spit in an emergency room for less than $25,000, but unfortunately, it's not unusual to see drivers with that limit.
Yeah, and you also see drivers that don't have insurance, right? Yes. And so that kind of moves us into the next line item there on the USAA deck sheet, which is uninsured motorists.
Yes. Nope, it is not. We call it UM coverage, uninsured motorist. Interesting enough, so it applies for uninsured crashers, right? If you crash into somebody, or if you're a victim, somebody crashes you that doesn't have insurance. Also, it covers when they can't find the person that crashed into you.
So run, and that happens.
Yep. So that's considered, uninsured motorist situation. And so we're going into what we call first party coverages. So these coverages cover you. So in this one, this client has what we call $100,000 per person, $200,000 per accident. And so this is what we call personal portable. This covers you when you're in your own car, but also if you're in somebody else's car.
Yeah.
Or walking down the street and hit by a car. Yep. As long as it involves a car, this coverage applies.
And boy, I think that is not common knowledge out there. In fact, we've had a lot of adjusters that have told their insureds that they do not have coverage. And they'll come to us and they'll tell us, oh, this is too bad. I don't have any coverage. This person hit me. They took off. And we're like, whoa. You don't have to be in a vehicle. You don't have to be in your vehicle to have this coverage apply to you. What's also interesting though here is, and I want to get this before people zone out too much, but we have 4 vehicles listed on this, and each of these vehicles, this insured is paying a separate premium for each of these coverages. Am I looking at that right?
Correct.
And why is that important?
So it's important because we live in what I believe is the greatest state in the greatest country. And part of that reason is that Montana allows stacking of first party coverage.
Stacking.
And so if you look, this client paid a separate premium for coverage on each vehicle. And so what that means is that $100,000, and he bought that coverage, $100,000 on each of the 4 vehicles he owns.
Right.
And so that means that you take that limit and you multiply that by the number of premiums that you pay. So in this case, the client has $400,000 per person in UOM coverage.
Wait, so you're telling me if this is my policy and you hit me in the crosswalk, okay, and I am catastrophically injured, I've got a broken femur and I lose a limb and I rack up, easy, a couple $100,000 in ER bills and, post-op rehab, things like that. You're telling me there'd be $400,000 available to me?
No cap. That's exactly what I'm telling you. Oh, sorry. For all the kids out there. Exactly. That stacks. And again, going back to the AI conversation, is that not every state allows stacking. And so, you could be asking the AI this. You might even upload your deck page and ask it to analyze it.
Yeah.
But unless it knows that this took place in Montana, it may not tell you that, hey, you got 4 separate policies that you can stack here.
And adjusters too. I mean, folks are talking to adjusters that are adjusting claims across multiple states. And every state has different laws on stacking. Montana is unique. I mean, do you know how many states allow stacking? Is like 7 or 8?
That's my question. I'll have to do some research.
Maybe we'll report back on that. But it's certainly the minority of states that allow stacking. But some adjusters are not going to mention that you actually have $400,000 in coverage. They'll let you know $100,000 or none.
No, I mean, if I had a nickel for every time an insurance adjuster only mentioned one coverage before the client came to speak with me, I'd have a whole lot of nickels.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's contrast this USAA policy with the next one we have from Progressive Insurance. What do you see? I guess first off, when you're looking at a deck sheet, what's the first thing that stands out to you about this Progressive deck sheet as opposed to the USAA?
So under coverage, has one limit there for one premium. So that indicates that that's the limit. There's no stacking. So it's a single premium paid for that one policy. So if you look on page 2, Benji, scroll, you'll see several vehicles listed. But you'll notice as liability coverage, but there's no more mention of UM.
Yeah.
Or UIM, underinsured motorist coverage. This is what we call a single premium UM policy. So there's a single premium paid. And so there's no stacking. That's the limit.
Yeah. And so, boy, I mean, I think that's something that everybody should, honestly, anyone listening to this, take 5 minutes, log into your online auto insurance portal, look at your deck sheet, and see if you're paying a single combined premium for all your vehicles on the first party coverages, or if you're paying separately. Um, I mean, I don't think people are looking at that stuff. I don't think people are considering that when they're buying auto insurance.
No, no. And I will point out, because I can just hear everybody yelling through their screens at home. But Colin, look, there's separate premiums paid for these liability coverages. Shouldn't those also
Yeah.
stack?
Yeah. What about that?
It makes perfect sense. And I made that argument to the Montana Supreme Court, and I lost. You cannot stack liability coverages, unfortunately.
See, this is what I'm talking about, man. You just can't get enough of insurance coverage. You're creative, you're trying things. You lost, but at least we know.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, this one also, this progressive insured had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles insured under this policy. Had this been a USAA policy, I'm not promoting USAA over Progressive. I'm not making a plug for any insurance company out there, but I will say just how you pay your premiums makes a massive difference. This viewer wants to know why do they have to go through a third-party agent to purchase insurance? What is a third party good for when purchasing insurance? Yeah, I got some opinions about this. You want to hear them?
Not sure I do.
Yeah, you do. So here's the thing, and this is kind of my pet peeve. The law in Montana is the same, regardless of what insurance you have, what insurance company you're insured for, right? Or you're insured with. Um, an insurance agent, they're a salesperson. They're going to make their commission based on what they're going to sell you. But in the end, $100,000 in coverage through this insurance company grants you exactly the same rights as it does from this insurance company or this insurance company. And if you're charged separate premiums for those, why? Why would you be charged more? Like, is there a higher level? Is it customer service? What is it?
Yeah. I think there's value in discussing what's a good limit for you. I mean, otherwise, you may not know, right? What's an adequate amount of coverage for your situation?
Okay.
And that's going to vary. There are like independent agents that can shop around across multiple. So like there's captive, and I think they're called independent agents. So captive agents, do like one company. So like farmers, for example.
Yeah.
And that's where they're getting the quotes from. I express no opinion what's better.
Why
Captive or
can't
independent.
what?
I have friends that do both, and so I don't want to have my phone blow up. My friends are angry. The thing
All
that they
right.
do offer a service. I use one.
Okay. Well, I don't really care. What if I just want to punch into ChatGPT? Hey, I'm a 41-year-old male. I haven't been in any wrecks. I don't get any speeding tickets. I drive a 2009 Ford F-150. You know, I own my house, but I have modest amounts of assets.
Yes.
What coverage should I get? That seems like a pretty good prompt. I should probably get a pretty good result.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
Well, okay.
I got him speechless.
No,
That's exactly my goal. That's exactly my goal. So,
would they? I can say.
No. You know what? There needs to be somebody in our firm that is just going to stay silent on the topic and help us save face. But I'm just going to boldly go out there and be like, I don't know. I think I could probably get this figured out with some AI help. You've got leverage in being able to file a lawsuit, litigate that lawsuit. When you run up against, the hurdles from an adjuster the adjusters know the law, maybe. They certainly know that whether you have an attorney or not and what they can get away with or not. And that's the benefit. That when you need some leverage, when you need some teeth behind, what you're negotiating, that is where we provide an invaluable service.
Well, I'm not sure you can trust AI with something like that. So as an example, I was just talking to a really good friend who reads works by this Christian author named Nancy Guthrie. And
Okay.
he heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's on radio or what, but heard somebody say something about Nancy Guthrie kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
And so worried that his favorite author plugs it in, and the Google AI right away says, Nancy Guthrie, Christian author, has been kidnapped. And kind of sent him into a panic.
Okay.
He adores this author.
Yeah.
He pokes around the interweb some more and finds out that it's not this author. It's an equally sad situation. Obviously, Savannah Guthrie's mom,
Yeah.
but wasn't who we thought it was. So it was wrong.
Yeah.
Hallucinate sometimes.
Yeah. All right. No, I do. Sometimes maybe I give it more credit than it's worth. Yeah, there's some utility to it, but yeah, no, it's not without its error. That's worth considering. All right.
All you insurance agents, send your hate mail care of Paul Adam at what's your home address?
My home address.
Not the firm. Don't send it to the firm.
You can send it to the firm. Gerstner Adam Law. Sarah will be happy to open it and immediately shred it. So thank you for the question. Really appreciate the quick response and asking what's the purpose of agents? What's the purpose of maybe seeking a third-party intermediary to determine your coverage? Yeah, do your research. Listen to me. Listen to Colin. You can't go wrong either way.
Yep.
Well, you have any hot takes? You have any burning things that have been on your mind? I mean, you're coming off a vacation.
Yep.
You did take some time off, which you needed. You've been working hard. Some much needed respite in Puerto Vallarta.
And I want to clarify the record. I had nothing to do with the cartel killing down there.
And I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
The timing is suspicious. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
you got back last week. Probably enough time to, just do a little bit of reconnaissance and report back and get out before it gets hot. That's what it seems like.
I think the greatest evidence that it wasn't me is the fact that I didn't want to come back home. I mean, to be, have the flights canceled, the airport closed, people spending some unplanned days at the resorts. That sounds kind of nice. Not gonna lie.
All right.
I didn't really want to come home.
Yeah, but you couldn't help yourself. You had to come back and interpret coverages for the injured and disabled folks in Montana. Good for you.
So another thing that's been on my mind is I think this pod will air, Benji, shake your head if I'm wrong, but it'll air March or April. You saying yes?
Yep.
My favorite sport, baseball.
Yes.
It's gonna, be starting up then. And so I'm a big Rockies fan, glutton for punishment, and they have sucked the past few years. But people don't want to hear me ramble about the Rockies. I'm going to make a pledge to the people, and that is, I guess more background. They have lost over 100 games the past couple seasons.
See, in a row, they've lost at least 100 games each season?
Yeah, they're on track to set the record. God, they pulled a miracle and won some games in a row. So they didn't have the worst record in baseball history last year, but they were close.
Okay.
Knocking the door of infamy.
All right.
But if the Rockies win the World Series this year, I will get a Rockies tattoo for the people.
Oh, you got to up the stakes, man. A big deal. If they win the World Series, it's got to be a face tattoo. Where are you? It's got to be a throat tattoo. It's got to be like a full CR.
Yeah, I won't go that far.
Okay,
but I will do it, and I will video it and upload it to the pod.
That's good content. I love that. Yeah. I love that for you. That's not going to happen though.
No, I feel safe.
Yeah.
How about you? You got any baseball opinions or anything else you want to share?
Oh man. Most of my baseball revolves around Little League, the lower levels. Some call it the minor leagues.
Yeah.
That's, we got a bunch of great Little Leagues in Billings. Love them all. Obviously, my favorite is Big Sky. And yeah, we're looking pretty stout this year. I think we're going to give the rest of the district a run for their money at all divisions, mind you.
If Big Sky goes to San Bernardino,
Yes,
you get a Big Sky tattoo?
maybe I already have one.
Oh, there you go. Prove it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's about all we have for today. We've gone through some pretty hot topics. I think folks are pretty well informed now. Obviously, if they have insurance questions, Colin loves to talk insurance. He will not charge you. These are, these are free consultations. If you've got questions about your policy, you want to know what type of coverage you have, call Colin. This is what he came back from Puerto Vallarta to do, and he needs to talk to you.
And for you podcast listeners, we're fishing for ideas. So if there's other topics for the pod that you want us to discuss, go ahead and give us a comment on the pod somehow. The Facebook page, comment on the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know how you would do that, but do it.
Yeah, that's up to Benny.
Yeah, Benji.
He just mentioned send us a link.
No, send us a letter.
Send us a letter. He wants you to mail a letter. All right.
Yeah.
Mail a letter. We'd love to read your mail. We'll open it on camera on the next podcast. That's all we got for today. Thanks for listening. Spin Off the Record with Gerstner Adam Law.
Peace.